everybody, and welcome to another Cyber Lounge Coffee Chat. We're joined this time by Ayesha Khine from Buildility AB. You might have seen her before on our Kaseya roundtable. Ayesha?
Hey everyone, hi. Happy to be here and happy to be speaking again. Really excited. I guess let's get stuck in.
Yeah, so this time around we're talking about the cyber skills shortage and whether or not it's as big of a deal as we think, or maybe it's even bigger. Um, it's kind of we've looked at some statistics recently, and there've been studies that showing the numbers of unfilled cybersecurity jobs are around 3.5 million worldwide, and that is up from around 1 million from 2014, which is, I think, a 250% increase in like 6 years, which is ridiculous. It's and to sort of counter that, all the hacking and the cybercrime is just getting bigger. It's getting more complicated, and it's happening way more often. And it's starting to become an issue where people are not really becoming qualified to deal with those things, or there are less qualified people percentage-wise in comparison to the attacks. Is that right, or is there something different than that?
Well, I mean, so this is like talking, is there really a cybersecurity skills shortage? And I mean, we could look at the question from 2 points of view. On a much broader scale, looking at the country as a whole and asking, are they prepared for a cyber attack? Probably no. There is still a massive lack of understanding when it comes to the importance of cybersecurity. And as such, many businesses do lack those skills necessary. However, when we look at the cybersecurity industry in particular, and this a complaint we often hear from both recruiters and businesses themselves about this big gap in the market, then I'd probably argue otherwise. So I mean, I think my journey into cybersecurity hasn't been I just landed a job in cybersecurity. It's been I've had to take on other types of roles before I got there. And then I think one of the main things that I'm always telling people about my journey was that when I went for these cybersecurity interviews, they'd say, "Oh, you're great, and things like that, but you don't have enough experience." And I'm like, "Well, yeah, I've only just got out of university. I don't have the experience. You're right, but I'm willing to learn." And it was quite draining, I guess, to keep on going for like these interviews and then getting to final rounds, after sort of 3 to 4 rounds of interviews as well. And to say, yeah, you're really good, but we've hired someone with like 5-10 years experience. Obviously that's great for them, but they're sort of narrowing the field or the pool of who's going to apply for these roles in the future. And I think that's a major issue as well.
Yeah, especially with years of experience, that seems to be coming up a lot. It's sort of defining years of experience. Let's take like pen testing, for example. If someone has done, let's say, 10 pen tests every year for 5 years, compared to someone who's done 50 pen tests a year for 2 years, who's really more qualified for that thing? Because obviously they've done more, but they've done it for less amount of time. So it's interesting how years of experience has been used in that way, sort of been condensed down to just that. And it's a big problem we find with just what they ask for in job descriptions is as much of a problem like trying to fill it as the the lack of so-called qualified people.
Yeah, they're looking for a perfect candidate, and I don't think that really exists in terms of what they do ask for in sort of job specs and things like that. I think you'll be lucky to get 50% of what's on that job spec. So I think a lot of candidates probably feel like they can't apply for that role because it's silly. Because what they probably think, I'm not qualified enough for this role. So you're missing out on a bunch of really good talent there. And so things like saying, is a degree really necessary? I think I have a degree, but I have a degree in computer science, and then I have a postgraduate degree in network and information security. It did help me to get my first cyber role, but I think if we look at it now, I think many people are self-taught in cyber. They've gained incredible, valuable experience on the job or through self-learning. I mean, why do we still hold that so highly? I think yes and no. I mean, obviously, we'd love to hear some of the viewers' opinions on that.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, and anyone who's watching, please get your comments in on the post on LinkedIn, and we'll try our best to answer all of them. But yeah, it's interesting. How you say like learning on the job and everything, because nowadays all the cybersecurity professionals their days are pretty busy. They have pretty big schedules, and just trying to even just keep up with the industry because it's moving so fast with new technologies and everything. And some people don't have the time really to sort of study, so they have to take holiday time and everything. And it raises some interesting questions like, is the fact that they've got no time to study actually making their job worse, because like by doing their job more because they're not more prepared for the new sort of the new ways of dealing with situations.
Yeah, I mean, so I think what's worked well for me in the past and what I've seen has worked well is that you do learn a lot from getting put in the deep end for sure in cybersecurity. It is all about like reacting quite quickly, but also strategically being proactive. So there's a good combination there. But I think if you're lucky enough to work for a company that offers like training packages and like actually gives you dedicated time to say like 1 hour every day at the end of the day to like do some so 4 o'clock it's study time type of thing in terms of like you want to watch a video, if you want to do some like training. I think those are really good things. I've seen like where they do sort of socials around like study socials and things like that. I mean, I guess study sounds a bit boring, but you see what I mean there.
Yeah, I mean, someone's just commented. We've known about the shortage for 10+ years, and we now have dedicated degrees on cybersecurity. In my honest opinion, it's simply a lack of motivation to train and educate by the corporations, and therefore we artificially fight over the few seniors in the field instead of raising a workforce. Would you agree?
Yeah, I mean, so I think, yeah, I definitely agree with that. I think they're choosing from this few technical seniors rather than skilling people up. And I think also when you look at like retention of people in this field, the way to keep them is to train them and like nurture them and say like, here's your career plan. We want to help you on this journey. You don't have all the skills right now, but we're willing to train you. And I think cybersecurity is one of those fields where we can train people and we can really get like a lot of people into it. It doesn't really matter what background you're from.
Yeah, 100%. And yeah, it's interesting because I'm seeing a lot of people in cybersecurity come from different backgrounds. Not everyone's like you say, not everyone is gone into university and looking for a career in cybersecurity. People fall in, and that actually creates sort of diversity in cybersecurity teams where new tactics, new ideas sort of come through because not everyone's thinking the same way. So I think that's certainly a good thing. There are Dan Lee Felton has commented, what are some transferable skills areas that are overlooked when recruiting people into cyber roles in your experience?
Yeah, so I think So I know a lot of people who work in sort of maybe the hospitality area or just more on hands role. And I think, you know, they have a lot of great transferable skills, such as like organization management. You know, these are all things that can be very much filtered into cybersecurity. Yes, there's that lack of technical, but I think that can really be trained. You know, we can get some people on some really good programs, and I think all of that can be taught. I don't think we should shut out any industry from getting into cyber. And I think it is a great career path.
Yeah, and you know, transferable skills, the sort of communication thing is super important, especially with. I think we mentioned it at the beginning. Sort of higher ups at corporations not
Yeah,
really valuing cybersecurity and really communicating the importance of it to them is something that really needs to, you know, because a lot of they think you know, just staying within the regulations is enough, but as the attacks become more advanced and more varied, and you know they're coming at you from all different angles all the time.
yeah.
Um,
We need people from all different backgrounds, really, because I think yeah, cybersecurity attacks happen in all industries to everyone. So who better to be like first line of defense than, you know,
mhm.
everyone out there. So it shouldn't just be a typical, or what we think is a typical type of cybersecurity type of person. I think anyone can be a cybersecurity person.
Yeah, yeah, and like you said before, those the technical skills can be taught, but it might be interesting to think of from the hacker's perspective. They don't really, you know, they haven't really got to balance their normal day to day cybersecurity schedule with learning the new technologies. They can just learn the new technologies and sort of use them to their advantage.
Hmm.
Um, and yeah, that's sort of creating so the gap of the you know, and like someone in the comments said before about there are only few seniors in the field. You know, just having the time to spend, you know, learning those new things is really how you become qualified for those upper roles. Um,
Yeah, we need to see like more mentors, more buddies, and things like that. There are some really good sort of groups that provide things like that, and I think it is just making them more accessible to everyone.
yeah, Kieran Walsh has said, "Do you reckon the massive inflation in market rate is causing issues with hiring? SOC analysts going for 50,000 plus with fully remote working and flexible hours is putting firms out of competition."
I think I think security does like have a high value in terms of salary, and I think I mean I can't really comment on that personally, but I think you know, when there's a demand, I think that need is there, and I think, you know, yeah, that's really all I can say on that, because I do feel it just depends on the size of the company, depends on the need. I think yeah, fully remote, it doesn't mean the salary should be less or anything like that, because I think you know, I've noticed that I actually work more working remotely
Hmm.
and more on hands and things like that. But I think it just depends on the company and what they're willing to offer. I don't I don't know if it's causing issues. I think, yeah, maybe smaller companies are probably finding it harder to find like good security people. But I think there could be ways around it in terms of like training programs and like, yeah, hiring people from different backgrounds. So, you know, maybe that's a way to get like people in at a lower salary grade, but offer them like great career paths. Um, yeah, but yeah, maybe that's one like that needs to be talked about in a deeper discussion.
Yeah, and yeah, it's a lot of companies, especially big consultancies and stuff, they're offering, they're offering the time to train. They're offering different training programs, especially for juniors or people trying to break into the industry. They're offering sort of labs or whatever. It's like that. So someone has said, Stephen Dover said, security is a very wide field, even more so than most other areas of business, and this diversification is where I see the biggest challenge. Skills go hand in hand with different technologies and focus areas, so security shouldn't be a focus on its own. Diversification of other roles is more beneficial, training security responsibilities within other IT, risk, compliance, and governance areas. Would you agree, or is the general consensus that security needs to be in its own box?
Yeah, I agree with what Stephen said. Like, I think we need to be trained on other areas. Security is really broad. I mean, from physical to sort of crisis management to the more deeper technical malware analysis, pen testing. I mean, there's so many areas that I don't even know about. So
Yeah.
I think everyone has a chance to chip in, and I think it's really good to cross skill and learn. That doesn't have to be your speciality or forte. You can just be like versed and say, security audit or digital forensics. But I always think also where. So with my background, I didn't go into cybersecurity straight away. I had other roles, and those other roles actually really helped me in my first cybersecurity role. So I think it is necessary, and I think if that person wants to, they should be able to. But I think it is down to that individual themselves.
Yeah, and like I was saying before, the diversity is becoming a real. People are sort of really talking about it, just because of the new ideas. Because people with the lack of sort of the people are always trying to find new ideas, aren't they, to defend against the attacks, because they just keep going. I mean, you were on the Kaseya roundtable we had. I mean, that was a massive attack just 2 months ago, and there's been countless attacks since then. I think there's a phishing attack every like 11 seconds, or just ridiculous numbers, just over and over and over again. And with this unfilled cybersecurity positions, now at around 3.5 million. Like I said before, they were around 1 million in 2014. It's only going to really get bigger, the amount of unfilled roles. Do you have any ideas on sort of how we can counteract that, or sort of try and slow it down as much as possible?
Well, yeah, I think there is an issue saying where these sort of job ads are always focusing on like being certified. Like CISP is a great certification. However, I think I don't know if it's super accessible to everyone. I think a lot of people get it because of the company they've been in, or it's quite expensive. So having that as a requirement, it already cuts a lot of people out. So I think maybe people need to avoid always looking for that, and looking for, do they attend conferences, like cybersecurity conferences? Does cyber cross into their hobbies? Like, have they created any new like security tools? Like, just looking at their passions really, and engaging people more like that. And I think also like that sort of like goes into like stop looking for fully experienced candidates, like focus internally, and maybe as someone said, like cross training, like within the company, who can you bring in and train up? There's other IT roles within the company that can easily be cross-skilled, but then there's also like maybe people from finance or marketing that could definitely be cross-skilled if they wanted to. Like there's definitely all departments pretty much, you know, if they've got an interest and that's something they want to do. I definitely think that can be done. And, you know, I think encouraging people from all sorts of careers is definitely a way to get more people involved and to allow them to see like this is a career path that they can do and they can be good at.
And yeah, someone's just agreed with Stephen's comment. Danley Felton has said you would agree security's role should be to educate and to support the experts in other business areas. Networks will always know more about the network. Devs will always know more about their apps. Client-facing staff will always know more about the products and services, and security needs to come along and fill in the gaps and empower those people to work in their specialist areas while staying secure. Do you have anything to say on that? Yeah.
Yeah, I think security plays a massive part in like the devs roles or the infrastructure team or the database team. I think, you know, there's 100% crossover and like, I mean, if you work in a security team, you probably know that there's, you know, you're always overseeing everything, hopefully, and I think there needs to be a good support structure there. I would say, but I would say like it also comes from like the devs and the infrastructure too as well. Like it's a two-way street.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, I've come across something a really interesting idea, which is it's starting people younger. Basically, they want someone I forget the name, but they were really passionate about getting these big companies to sort of invest in younger people, like 15-year-olds, just showing them what a career in cybersecurity can do, because the idea is that eventually, like in like 10 years or so, with more people in the industry, the skill shortage will start to close. But it's always going to be a gradual thing, isn't it? We're not going to fix it in, like just like that. But I suppose that also you could sort of come from the other side and be like, well, you got more juniors, but there's less things to go. I don't know. It's a really tricky one, isn't it? Just trying to find the balance in just filling all these gaps in the industry.
I mean, I feel that younger people need to be given that chance though, and they need to be able to show that they can do it, and I believe that they can. So I do think it is down to like these bigger organizations hiring to really like pull them on board and train them up. We need more things like cybersecurity apprenticeships and like sort of work placements and things like that, or just people who are already in the industry, helping people to get into this industry and showing them how great it could be for them, and maybe not worrying so much about their background and if they have a degree or not. I think that does really limit that pool, and that's something we can tackle really, because that's probably why we have this gap, because we're only looking at such a small talent pool.
Yeah, and to grow that talent pool, we need more people, and it's better to get them young. I mean, coming to people later on in life, even if they've, like you said, coming from more diverse backgrounds, it's good for ideas, but also just if you get them when you're young, there's a lot more chance there'll be more people, and that's really sort of what we need. It seems like, at least, there are just so many people doing so much work, and they themselves are not getting the time to study, because they're doing work that someone else could be helping them with. It's sort of all connected, and it's creating a quite a large problem.
Yeah, I mean, so the government launched the UK Cybersecurity Council to tackle that skills and diversity shortage, and and I think we really need to get on board with that, and encourage those people from all sorts of careers and walks of life to get into this professional. And additionally to this, when we're talking about diversity, we're not just thinking about recruitment, but that retention and creating companies and workspaces with a focus on inclusion, and make that whole make technology itself like a really inclusive place to work.
100%. And so Stanley Felton has come back and he said, yeah, I don't know what GCSE curricula looks like now, but when I was in high school, they barely taught us to use Excel. I'm wary of placing that burden on private companies and saying we need to educate younger folks, but there's definitely a need there. Do you know of any initiatives, government, private, both, that are addressing IT or cyber at that level of education?
I don't know. No, I don't know if they are, but I do know that there's more. I know that. So when I was in uni, there wasn't really a cybersecurity degree, well, that I knew of. But I think now I hear a lot more people taking that on. I know that IT is becoming more of a core thing within schools. But I think it needs to be shouted about more. There needs to be more emphasis put on technology within schools. Um, Definitely, I think it's a great idea for people to go and do talks within schools, and like career talks like they used to do, when they used to get like doctors and lawyers to come in. I think us technology security folk need to go in and show them.
Yeah, and I can say from personal experience, to Dan, yeah, I wasn't taught a lot of Excel. I was taught maybe just how to make one spreadsheet, and that's pretty much it. So like that's what I was taught in my GCSEs. It was technical wise, it was I only took IT for the first 3 years. After that, it was sort of it didn't grab you what they were doing. And Christopher Robertson has sort of gone on to that and said, on the topic of getting people in younger, did any of the GCHQ schemes like Cyber First for younger people ever get shown to either of you? Do you think government schemes are not visible enough?
Yeah, I have seen the Cyber First for younger people scheme, but I guess it wasn't something that I really. Yeah, I think it was one of those passing things. I think they definitely could have advertised it a lot more. Um, I think there could have been more buzz around it, things like that. There definitely needs to be more visibility on that, um, because I think it's great.
Yeah, and it's an interesting point. It's actually kind of a really big problem, just how to get younger people, how to get that visibility. It's really, I mean, really doing it through the school system and government, through the government, is probably actually the best way to go. I don't know anybody who's seen any sort of advertisements from various companies, just like advertising, I don't know, training programs for 15 to 18-year-olds or whatever like that.
So we had I think the posters, that
Mhm.
were, I think, caused a lot of scandal with the. But I think apart from that, there hasn't been too much more, that I've seen anyway. There may have been, but yeah, I agree with you. At schools, they should make it a core module in technology potentially. I think that would be great if they could do that, if they could add it into the curriculum, because any anyone can do it, and just to show it at that young age would be amazing. And I think there are ways of getting it into the curriculum that isn't too advanced either. So I
Yeah,
think it
and
can start off like quite a fun thing, like with maybe like spotting phishing attacks, or or how to stay safe online. We could wrap it up into that, and I think you know that's the type of these are the type of things we should be looking at.
yeah, 100%. And yeah, because the industry is so big and there are so many roles for different personality people, like you say, it's really really anybody can get into it. It doesn't matter if you don't have to be, because I think maybe a lot of the young people, they think a career in
Yeah,
cybersecurity,
100%. And
and they think a career in the cyberspace is sort of like you're in a darkened room just with you and your computer, that kind of thing. But it's really not the case. And you got those outgoing people, and they'll be better at obviously talking to the stakeholders, and just getting their investment, because that's really a lot of the problem, is like lack of investment in cybersecurity programs, and that's creating obviously holes in
I think
there.
there's also what I've found is that there is also sometimes a lack of investment in security as a whole, in terms of like buying tools, or unless there's been an attack on the organization, then only after they seem to spend quite a lot and bring in lots of security people and have all these positions open. And I think yeah, I mentioned earlier, like being proactive is much better than being reactive. I think so. Having that security team embedded already is great, and organizations need to start looking at organizational charts and saying like, yeah, we need a security team, and a security person leading that team, and really seeing that role there, and going internally and seeing if anyone wants to be skilled up in there or trained within security. If they can't find anyone, I think that's the way to go.
Yeah, and as you said before, yeah, the cyber industry and just pretty much everything of any importance is like they only act when something bad has happened. That's only when the reaction is. There's no preempting or anything like that. It takes quite a big issue or a big event to actually get people to do things, to sort of counter it, on a mass scale at least. There's always people who saw it before. So yeah, Stephen has said, would you see that recruiters also have a responsibility to tell companies that they are recruiting for that job description, and experience requirements need to be more effectively rationalized? Entry level does not need a CEH or CISSP.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's crazy to expect an entry level security person needs CIS. It's something to achieve for sure, and I think that should be put on a career plan for someone. But in terms of having it as an entry requirement, I think yeah, recruiters definitely should be feeding that information back to the organization, saying no, that's the wrong sort of level you're looking at. Yeah, if you're looking for a senior management person, or yes, senior perhaps, but definitely not entry level. So to see that on an entry level, even as I think they have it as would like to have CIS, but I think that puts people off, because then it's like expectation of, oh, these people want CIS, and it can be quite daunting, I think. And I've definitely found it daunting when I've been looking for jobs, and I think there's better ways. There's other ways of showing recruiting people rather than giving entry requirements, and perhaps just speaking to them and understanding how their interest in cyber. I think that's maybe a better route for an entry level, at least.
Yeah, I completely agree. So I think we're coming to about time now. I just like to thank Ayesha for being here on this talk, and obviously everyone in the audience for your questions, your comments, just being part of the discussion is great. We've got another event on Tuesday that's about vulnerability management and why it matters. And that is with Parav Desai. So be sure to sign up for that and join me live when we do that. But yeah, thanks again to Ayesha, and yeah, we'll see
Thank
you.
you, everyone. Really great content.